Day 2, July 1st, 2006. The day begins with the War Story competition, a new feature to this year's events.
This is the VHPA Ultimate War Story Contest.
The War Story competition seemed like a great way for these guys to do what they do best, share stories. But this simple presentation is not always easy, as you'll see. The entire VHPA reunion is not only fun, it's healing as well. But it's only the ones who talk about it that truly come to grips with their experiences. This event will prove to be truly touching and courageously monumental for those who lived it firsthand. After a long day of storytelling, it was finally time to eat. Many VHPA members will tell you that one of the best things about these reunions is the food, and of course, the open bars. Tonight is no exception. So, after a long night of dining, dancing, and we can't forget about drinking, it's time for the VHPA to turn in for a night of rest or party, whichever comes first. Day 3, July 2nd, 2006. As the days go on, Linda, aka Coordinator Extraordinaire, has managed to squeeze in not only events for the pilots, but for the wives and guests as well. Throughout history, women have been the backbone for every war. Many soldiers took their wives off to war with them. While their husbands fought on the front line, the wives stayed back on base, raised the kids, balanced the finances, and kept their homes and lives together while waiting for their hubby's return. During much of the time alone, these hopeful, proud women had a chance to make their lifelong friends that doubled as their support group.
There's another original wife right here, too. This is Hilda Vandergrift. We met each other in Germany in 1972.
That's
when
right.
our husbands were serving, and we've been friends since. Yeah.
They clan together, looking to each other for the comfort neither them, their husbands, nor the government received during this turbulent time in American history.
I've been married to my husband for 36 plus years. I support our troops. I support our president in his actions with our troops because I believe we are here and our freedom is because of what our husbands and wives and spouses have sacrificed for us. So I support it 152%. So.
With pleasant company, listening to you talk about yourself, Vietnam was about the last thing we had on our minds. It was very, very nice, but of course it was too good to last.
Other women who stayed in the States often moved back home with their families, especially when there was children involved. Young, inexperienced mothers, without the loving warmth of new husbands, these women needed all the support that they could get.
Had our first child while he was in Vietnam, and he didn't get to see her till she was 10 months old. And of course back then they didn't have the internet, so you'd get a letter, and you knew that day they were alive.
And myself being a fairly new bride and coming from Germany, didn't have really any family or anything. It was very difficult for me. It was sometimes having to go 4 weeks without any meal at all. And you're terrified, and you just keep thinking, oh, praying, is he okay, is he okay? You had no way to call, nothing. And the thing that you kept hoping and praying that nobody in uniform would show up at your door.
In a world that was unkind and inconsiderate to wartime, wives held a much bigger role in their husbands' lives than ever before. They not only served as comfort after a hard tour, but as a shield to the then harsh world.
The thing that upset me the most when my husband came back was when I met him at the airplane, he was in uniform. He had to go into the men's room and change out of his uniform into civilian clothes because there were protesters outside the airport.
The most difficult thing was when the guys came back and they were so badly treated. You know, they were spit upon and everything else.
To them, it is very important. That's the one thing that they always tell us is, we know that you're supporting us. Yes, we know the war is bad and people don't want it, but we know that you're supporting us, and that's what keeps us going over there, knowing that you're supporting us and our families are being taken care of.
Patty Pierce knows how important it is for her husband to be around men who share similar experiences. She knows that the VHPA can help heal an old veteran's wounds.
Because these men that are here this week for this reunion, I've heard a lot of them shake hands and say, "Welcome home, brother," because they were not welcomed home over 30 years ago. And that's important for them to be welcomed home, to know that what they did over there was not in vain.
Now, while these ladies catch up on old times, all the pilots happen to be right down the hall in the midst of their annual business meeting. Here, actually, only a fraction of the members get together every year to hash out what was done right and what was done wrong. Elections take place, and support for things like scholarships and the actual organization itself is shown in many ways, including monetarily.
Someone has given me $100,000 with Ho Chi Minh's picture on it. And I need to know what the value is before I give it to the ladies in the back.
Even though these men are seriously getting down to business, they often take time to joke a bit too.
Yes, sir, back in the corner.
I'm voting for Woody because I'd rather have a Woody than be rich.
But all in all, this was a meeting well done. Now back to the spouse and guest brunch. About this time, everyone is being entertained by none other than Dick Steiner, magician extraordinaire. Steiner even entertained people like Alan Tipper Gore, Halle Berry, Evander Holyfield, David Hasselhoff, and many more.
The other thing we get asked all the time is, how did you get started in magic? And that's not a big secret, I can tell you about it. And I thought I'd demonstrate with the USA Today sports page. Now, if we look at this, we've got a Verizon ad here on the back, and looking through, we've got all the statistics the USA Today is famous for. We've got a golf ad here, looks like skateboarding, football, and baseball here in the front. Well, I was about 10 years old when I got started in magic, and I was reading the newspaper. My brother came in and wanted to know if he could read it too, and I said, well, sure, Bill, when I'm all done. He said the one thing I had no comeback for, he said, but Dad said we should share. I said, well, I guess you're right about that. Why don't you take half the paper? Well, that's not what he had in mind. He started to complain. He said, but Dick, you just tore the paper up. I said, well, no, Bill, actually, I didn't. You weren't paying attention. I tore it down. I didn't tear it up. I said, we'll do the best job of sharing any two brothers ever did. You can have some more of the paper here. When you're 10 and 7, which really like, of course, is football and baseball, I said, I'll be a real sport. You can have the harness racing news. That's this section right here. Well, I was having a lot of fun at his expense, and you can probably guess what happened about this time. My dad came in the room and hadn't read the paper yet. I was only 10, my hands weren't very big, but I thought, well, just maybe if I scrunch those pieces together and hide them in my hands, he won't notice what I've done. But my hands weren't big enough. In fact, they're still not big enough. And he said, Dick, I sure hope you haven't ruined the paper before I've had a chance to read it. I said, well, no, Dad. Actually, you see, Bill and I were simply reading the USA Today sports page here, and it's just right here with the Verizon ad on the back, and thank you very much.
After a magical brunch, everyone then meets up for the much-awaited mini reunions.